Go. The UK Health Security Agency says there are currently no cases of the virus here in the UK, and its deputy director claims that risk is currently considered low. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. Now it's time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. It's your first look at Friday's newspapers. I'm your host, Andrew Doyle. Tonight I'm joined by the very talented and handsome Leo Kearse and also Stephen Allen. Are you both okay?
We've been sarcastic there.
No, I was bigging you up to let him down.
I think because you're a comedian, that's a joke, and I'm not.
I think it's a joke.
I'm not actually, whatever it was, the nice
As long as we're all agreeing I'm handsome, then we can carry on with this.
I was trying to imply that you weren't. That was the joke, but maybe we shouldn't analyse the jokes. We should just tell the jokes. What do you think, Leo?
I agree.
You're actually offended now, aren't you? I can see. Well,
I think it's a hate crime as well. I think we should get some laws on this.
Well, you know what? We're going to talk a bit about hate crimes for comedy in a while. But let's start by looking at those front pages. We've got the Daily Telegraph first. On Friday, it's leading with GPs next in line for PM's cash handouts. The Daily Mail is running with so much for an economic crisis. The Times has got ministers favouring unions over pensioners. The Guardian is leading with two-tier system. Record A-level results highlight regional divide. And the Daily Express, surely no need for tax hikes with our growing economy. And finally, we've got the Daily Star. Excellent article. Man-hating ghost dolls, terrifying rampage. Can't wait to get to that one. Those were your front pages. Right, we're going to kick off with the front cover of the Daily Mail and the very beautiful Leo Kearse. What do you think?
They say so much for an economic crisis. They've gone further. They're being sarcastic, like you were when you said I was handsome. So the UK economy is the fastest growing in the G7. Although, to put that in context, the economies in the G7 haven't really been growing very fast. They're the sort of biggest nations, the best nations or whatever. And is it Europe? Is it Europe? Is it the world? I've no idea. There's been an expansion of... I mean, it can't be growing faster than America. But
it's doing all right. You know, you remember, like, before the ONS decided to revise its whole statistics and it realised, actually, we're doing all right since the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that bad.
This always happens. They always say, the ONS and all the other left-wing quangos and bureaucracies always say, oh, the British economy's doing so bad and it's all because of the Tories, me. And then when the actual figures come out, they have to revise it to show that we're actually doing much better. So there's been an expansion of the economy of 1.3% since the start of the year. So it outpaces the US. We're doing better than America, incredibly. But the Chancellor still insists she'll have to raise taxes because they've got a huge communist state to pay for.
Is this for the 20 billion black hole that she couldn't notice before? She didn't know about it, did she?
She had no idea it was there.
No.
But the one thing I will say is we've had huge levels of immigration over the past few years. So that fuels GDP, that increases GDP. Our productivity is declining. And I should imagine, I haven't seen the actual figures for GDP per capita, but I should imagine that's declining as well. But our productivity is declining, which is a real issue because we've got mass immigration, because people can come in and do jobs for cheaply. There's no incentive for people to invest capital in, technological solutions.
Well, there's a lot of non-productive people who grew up here as well.
Exactly, yeah, because the jobs aren't paying well enough to encourage them to do the jobs.
Steve, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, the most recent figures, April to June, 0.6%. So as much as I love the headline, so much for economic crisis. Oh, 0.6%, party time. It's not that, but yeah, it's just because it's better than other ones that are worse. Right. Plus, we did take a bit of a slapping during the lockdowns, and that means your numerator and denominators change. Just to get a bit nerdy on the maths, we can grow faster because we lost so much ground.
Yes.
It's like if you boast about quadrupling 2 and then compare it to, like, someone who doubles 3, you go, oh, we quadrupled. But no, if you've got a higher number, then a smaller increase is better.
But things are never as bad as people say, are they? You know, we haven't had this massive crash that everyone said we would, you know? Everyone sort of predicted that after Brexit.
Didn't we avoided a recession in the last quarter thanks to Taylor Swift? So
how was she involved?
That was a weird story where apparently her being around and the concerts meant more people spent money in hotels, which somehow...
Oh, I thought you meant she was mates with the Chancellor.
That also probably is... You know, she can do anything. Pretty much.
Of course you
But
can.
I think 0.6% over a few months is actually quite a lot for a developed
Still,
economy.
But from a number that was smaller than it should have been and would have been if we hadn't have locked down in that way. So just to boast, like, we've really improved since a really small number. You've got to remember that small number.
Yeah. OK, well, we're going to move on to the next paper now. And this is the cover of The Guardian. Who's got this, Steve?
It's me talking about two-tier things, but not the one you're thinking. Two-tier system, record A-level results, highlight regional divide. Look away now if you don't know the results. It's people in the south are doing better in education. Of course they are. It's the north-south divide. There are
Why
loads
is
of
that,
ways.
though? Why is that?
Just because posh people in the south and their tutors and
This
their
is your
fancy
northern
schools.
chip on your shoulder, isn't it?
really is.
It's such a visible chip. It's a huge chip.
Oh, I like chips. But there's another way of breaking down these stats, which I think is appalling, right? They've looked at the gap with boys getting more A-star grades.
Yeah.
They've widened the gap because boys get more A-stars. So instead of just saying, like, oh, congratulations, they found a way to look at, even though girls do better in all other grades, they do better at GCSEs, better at degrees, better at earning after degrees, but boys are doing better at A-stars, well, something must be done.
Yes.
And what they've done is you've got Professor Smithers, who says one reason that boys get more A-stars is because they pick subjects where it's easier to get them in.
Like what?
Maths, further maths, even more maths.
They're easy.
Physics,
They're really hard.
Physics, maths,
Why
economics.
not just do, like, drama? And, like, you could do, like, a performance piece.
Where no one really fails, but no one gets an A-star, and that's why they're putting
I
it
see.
instead of just saying, like, you did well. But compare this to what happened in lockdown. The girls didn't have the same gap. They were getting just as many A-stars because that was teacher assessment. How is this story not teachers are getting it wrong?
Yeah,
they
yeah,
looked
of
at they dished out the grades and just obviously now are wrong and gave too many grades to the girls and off to the
Yeah,
boys.
but I think there's been grade inflation for so long now. I don't trust any of it. Like when I started teaching, I was told that if you can get this kid to get an A, and I said, but he's illiterate, and they said it doesn't matter. An A is the equivalent of a D 10 years ago, so don't worry about it. I mean, isn't this true?
People are getting more stupid, and people were quite stupid to start off with.
That's
so
true.
So it is quite a worry. The sort
Surely
of spread.
it's stupider.
Yes, stupid.
The spread across girls and boys, the difference is quite interesting because girls are getting more A's, but boys are getting more A-stars. So this.
What does that mean?
So it means that basically the intelligence spread by gender, more women are in the middle. So women
Yes.
are closer to the median.
There are more male geniuses.
Whereas
you're
there are
about
more
to
male
say.
geniuses and more male idiots.
This was exactly Camille Parlier's point when she said there is no female Mozart for the same reason there is no female Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
She was saying that men occupy the extremes in all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it is true, insofar as the prisons are full of men.
Yeah.
Men are the worst. But there's also a few fantastic geniuses up there. So,
Yeah.
But I don't think they would be getting A-stars necessarily at GCSE. I don't
The
know if
whole
that's
thing of
or
A
A-level.
stars bothers me. It's like the amplifiers that go all the way up to 11. Just make A harder. But this GCSE goes all the way to A star. No, it doesn't.
Why are they going to do A double star, A triple star? Yeah, you're right. A should be the top.
Well, this is why they changed the grading of GCSEs to be 1 to 9, but 1 is the lowest and 9's the best, so you can just keep adding numbers. The problem with A is that there were no earlier letters, but now they've done it so that you just keep adding extra letters on.
Yeah, but this is so gutting because those of us who got A's at A level when we were at school now look like thickos.
Yeah, but
we didn't get A star.
only got A's.
Just to reassure you, nobody cares.
That's true.
Nobody cares what grades you got. And you don't even need to get good grades. You can just lie. And you can lie about what university you went to and what degree you got. Just lie. Nobody checks.
I think that's really bad advice. And can I just say, I do not endorse that because someone someday will check. I had to send my degree certificates through to some job recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you're leaving.
No, this was a few years ago. But it wasn't even. It was a part-time sort of lecturing thing, and I sent off the degree certificates.
Right.
So that's not true. Anyway, let's move on to this. This is now the front of the Times. Liam?
So ministers favouring unions over pensioners. This could be something to do with the fact that pensioners don't have a union, so they haven't paid lots of money to the government.
I suspect there's more to it than that.
So basically, train drivers' pay deal is going to be agreed, and it's going to cost the taxpayer £100 million, which is quite a lot of money. It's a 15% pay rise, and Labour are refusing to say how much taxpayers will have to contribute towards it. I mean, I think all of it. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
Taxpayers pay for all
when
the
you
stuff.
spread
that
it
the money's
out
spent.
over everyone, that's not much, is it?
Yeah, well, it all adds up. It all adds up. And also, I mean, the train drivers make the point that in real terms, they've had a 25% pay cut, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, they're doing a job that a robot could do. And the robot wouldn't be fat and wouldn't moan and wouldn't ask for pay rises all the time.
So I suppose with the trains, it's not like you can go the wrong way.
Exactly. There's no steering wheel.
It's all sort of there for you.
Yeah, like you know when you've got a toy train set and you've got the little dials and the buttons controlling the train. You don't need to sit inside the toy train making sure it drives.
Now come in, Steve. I want you to come in and defend train drivers and explain why we need to pay them a lot more.
I think they've done interesting maths here. The ministers have argued that if they wouldn't have found this resolution, then there would have been strikes, and strikes would have cost more than this 100 million in the long run. They've pulled an opportunity cost on this one, which doesn't really make any sense, but it's a nice bit of work in.
That's like giving in to the rioters or something.
Because it would cost more. Yeah, you see, you really should work for the Labour government. You could do this really well. But the idea of the pensioners, look, I know the pensioners are going to be upset about it, but this is just this is the situation. Pensioners tend to vote Tories, which is why the Tories absolutely love you and give you triple lock plus. You've reaped all the benefits of being the darling of the Tories, and now it's swung the other way. You should have voted Labour more often, and they'd care about it.
Get over it, pensioners. OK, well, I'd like to say we've upset pensioners, we've upset train drivers. Who else will we upset later on? Well, let's first have a look at this front cover of the Daily Star for Friday. What are they going with?
Man-hating ghost doll's terrifying rampage. Owner attacked by paranormal maniac.
I think there's very little we can say about that, other than it's a chilling story. I mean, it will keep me up at night. What do you think, Steve?
Because your dolls, yeah, you want to be careful with all the dolls. I don't have any dolls near my bed. This is why I've never been attacked by a doll.
I have a collection of porcelain Victorian dolls.
I'm not surprised by that.
And at night, with the way the moonlight glints, it sometimes looks like they're alive.
Yeah, that's how every horror movie starts.
Right. Yeah, one of them will get possessed by a serial killer.
Yeah.
And, the rest is history.
This is why I never have a bathroom cabinet with a mirror on it, because you open it up, close it, there's someone there.
Of course.
Don't do it.
I know. Rookie mistake. OK, those are the front covers looked at. Join us in part 2, where we're going to have Labour's latest losses, knighthoods for all, and some good old-fashioned Ukrainian sabotage. Don't go anywhere.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Now, parents should be given a £5,000 tax break to encourage them to have more children. That's according to a think tank called Onward.
Yes, their report suggests that the cost of parenthood is preventing couples from having as many children as they would like, and maybe actually stopping them from having a baby indeed at all. So with the birth rate at a record low, which is dangerous for our economy, isn't it? We are asking, should there be financial incentives to have children?
Let's talk to journalist Julie Cook and consultant Hilary Salt. Good to see you both. Julie, what do you think? I mean, should I be in effect, handing over my hard-earned money, in tax dollars at least, to couples so they can procreate?
I actually think it's a good idea, and I'm not a lefty by any stretch of the imagination, but we are in quite a critical time in terms of our population. Although our population is growing because of our ageing population, our birth rate is dangerously low. And according to the Lancet, I think we're going to be, I've got it written here, birth rate will drop to 1.38 by 2050 and 1.3 by 2100. And this is too low to sustain an ageing population. So although we've got lots of elderly now, that's how it is, we don't have enough babies being born. And a booming baby boom is actually a sign of a booming economy. And I think people are scared now because of the cost of living. We've had COVID, we've now got this crisis. Why would people have a baby now? It's a terrifying time. But if you gave them an incentive, it might well boost our population, our birth rate.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. It's your first look at Friday's newspapers. I'm still Andrew Doyle. I'm still joined by Leo Kearse and Steve N. Allen. We're going to kick off with the Express and Labour's poll lead. Where's it gone?
It's flattened because Dan Abbott leaned on it. So Labour's poll lead has collapsed after 40 days in office, with Reform now in second place. Unfortunately, for anybody getting optimistic about that, there's 5 years until another election. So polls just don't matter at the moment.
But people are really regretting voting Labour already. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I didn't think it was going to be this bad.
No, that's true.
I didn't vote Labour, but I'm really shocked by. I knew it was going to be bad, but I'm really shocked by how quickly, Keir Starmer's just revealed himself to be some sort of, Xi Jinping-style authoritarian. But, authoritarian forcing people to, hate their country instead of, forcing them to be patriotic.
And it's not just the arrests and the prosecutions of people for social media posts. It's also one of the first things they did was cancel the Higher Education Freedom of Speech Act. And they didn't even give people the opportunity to debate. They just blitzed it.
Yeah.
Totally authoritarian stuff. It's brazen.
He's doing a Trudeau speedrun. It's insane. But the good news is Reform UK are storming up the polls. They've overtaken the Tories once again, despite widespread criticism of Nigel Farage amid this month's riots, or maybe because of that criticism, because everybody can see that it's, people are speaking out of both sides of their mouth. But Labour, the poll results, Labour are down 6 points to 33%. That's 12 points ahead of Reform, who are on 21%, and the Tories are on 20%. The only thing I'd say is this is by a polling company called We Think Polling, which I hadn't actually
heard of them.
Yeah, which does make me
Sounds
wonder.
like someone's made up their own website, doesn't it?
Also, I wouldn't want people who just think polling, maybe do polling.
Do some polling.
We do polling. I'd look at that poll, but we think polling.
Steve, do you think what this does suggest is something that we've talked about before? That every vote is up for grabs. The polls can go any which way. You can go from an 80-seat Tory majority to 412 Labour seats. No, there are no such things as Labour voters anymore, Tory voters. Everything's up for grabs.
Well, it's a spectrum, isn't it? At the ends of the tail of the bell curve, there'll be people who will never vote anything other than the one that they're tied to.
That's getting smaller.
Yeah. And in the middle, when the interesting things happen. But also, it's pointless doing a poll now. Polls are kind of pointless anyway if we didn't need stuff to talk about, because it's what you feel in that moment of voting.
Yeah.
A few weeks before was less informative, but a few weeks after, utterly pointless. Ken Clarke always said, though, that this is the period to do the unpopular things. And even Ken Clarke would be like, whoa, I didn't mean that much. Come on, lads.
That's pretty insane. OK, we're going to move on now to Friday's iNews. And knighthoods are a lot like lollipops. You have to do a lot of sucking, but they're ultimately overrated. Steve?
Traded like lollipops, Tories give 110 MPs knighthoods in 14 years. So it's a broken system. The Tories worked out how to use it particularly well. In the old days, if you wanted to be a Sir, you had to have, a big sword. You have to sit at a round table. Maybe I've gone too far back for that reference.
You have to find grails.
It meant something, didn't it? These days, if you back a Prime Minister through a particularly squeaky motion, actually, that sounds wrong as well, but I meant a vote, then next thing you know, you're in. The best example is Andrea Jenkins, who served a few months as a junior education minister, got a damehood for it. Meanwhile, there'll be someone who's been out on the old zebra crossing for their entire life, gets a CBE and is meant to be happy about it. And this is about as when Boris Johnson put the, what's her name, Charlotte Owens, into the House of Lords. Is it a lover? Is it a half-sister? Let's hope it's not both. But this happens a lot in resignation honours, and Liz Truss gets a mention for doing a resignation honours after 49 days. She hardly accrued holiday leave, and yet managed to do a resignation. They should scrap them.
Like you say, it doesn't really mean... I'm with you. I think if you're going to be a Sir, you should have at least slayed a bear. Or some kind of wild animal.
Or a lynx. Something all the way down to that.
I mean,
a fox.
A lynx.
Like that guy with the golf club.
But I think, jolly on mom. Yeah.
Sir Jolly.
Let's be accurate, that was a fox.
Yeah, with a kimono and a tennis racket or something.
He was wearing a kimono and he used a baseball bat.
They should introduce it to the Olympics. I would watch that. Posh fops killing foxes. But I think MPs getting elected, the Tories come under flack here for putting so many MPs or former MPs in the Lords. I think MPs are better than bureaucrats or quango executives or community leaders, which is such a euphemistic term and is usually somebody who's pretending to speak on behalf of a community that doesn't exist in order to give themselves powers. And there's a suggestion here that it's time to put an independent body in full control of the process of assigning people to the House of Lords. Like, where are you going to find independent people to do this? There aren't any independent people.
True enough. Do you think the Lords should be abolished?
No, I don't actually. I think it's one of those things that's anachronistic and it doesn't make sense. You wouldn't invent it if it didn't exist, but it actually does quite a good job. It's sort of like the royal family, like that.
OK, interesting. All right, we're going to move on to The Guardian. The truth behind the destruction of the Nordstream pipeline. Who's got this?
So this is crazy. So the Ukrainian team did blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, according to a report in the Wall Street Journal. So this is another far-right conspiracy theory that's come true. So the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines carried natural gas from Russia to Germany under the Baltic Sea, a very cold sea, and it was damaged in explosions in September 2022, just 7 months after Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. So it put the pipeline out of action. There's that dramatic picture of all the gas bubbling up, and it worsened an energy crisis in Europe, particularly Germany, of course. And Germany was absolutely dependent on cheap Russian gas, and Trump had warned them, and everybody laughed at Trump, and then it turned out Trump was correct. But over the years, like, various people have been blamed. Russia was blamed, Ukraine was blamed, America was blamed as well by the Hungarian president.
Just Stop Oil?
Just Stop Oil, I think it's too cold for them. They just like flying to Goa and places like that.
They want to stop oil, not gas.
Yeah, they don't care about gas. You're right, that's fair.
According to the Wall Street Journal, the sabotage operation involved a small sailing boat and a team of 6 people, a combination of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians, and it used private funding, but was directed by a serving army general who reported back to Ukraine's then Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny, who approved the plan but later called it off after the CIA found out about it, but then they went ahead with it anyway. And Zaluzhny pressed ahead with the mission, the report claims. This is interesting because Zaluzhny was, and still is, a sort of political rival to Zelensky. Yes. And I think he would actually be he's a much better, in my opinion, much better chief of the armed forces than Syrskyi or whatever he's called.
Yeah, but how definite is all of this?
So this isn't definite. This is
like Agatha Christie sleuthing.
Slightly speculation, but I mean, I think it's. Yeah, it's the Wall Street Journal. They wouldn't be running it if it wasn't. This isn't some anti. You'd understand if it was an anti-Ukraine, if it was on RT or something like that. But this is Wall Street Journal, which is generally, pro-Democrat, pro-Ukraine.
Steve, you're quite a sleuth. Do you think there's anything in it?
I didn't get around to looking into this one myself. I do remember seeing online when people were blaming the CIA, and I did think, this is online. People blame the CIA for everything.
They do.
You can trace everything back there.
Well, if they hadn't killed Kennedy, we wouldn't be doing it, would we?
But if it were Ukraine, you kind of think you've got to let them have it. If you're in a war with Russia, blowing up a Russian thing, I'll let you have that. And also, we should be less dependent on that gas. By we, I mean Europe should be less dependent on Russian gas. So I guess it was a bit of a lesson. So, I mean...
So I didn't do it myself. You're all for it?
I didn't do it myself, but I didn't stop them.
Well, no, I think you're going to get a knock on your door soon. OK, we're going to move on to this story. This is from The Independent. Women in India reclaiming the streets? Who's got this?
Yeah, massive protests in India as women march to reclaim streets after doctors' brutal rape and murder. So police fired tear gas at large crowds of men who turned up as well. And it was like the violent part of the protest. They attacked a hospital where this trainee doctor was raped and killed. So it's easy to look at this story and see a lot of the message in here is about the cultural issue they have with violence to women. And yes, indeed, that's there. There's also claims that the police, if anything, defend the perpetrator before they try and protect the victim. But then you realise, someone was arrested with links to the police. And it's not as if we've never had a problem with people linked to the police sexually assaulting and murdering women. So we can't take the moral high ground there. Thousands of women took to the streets. The protest turned violent. Not as if we'd never had a protest that turned violent. So we're not doing well on moral high ground. The doctor can't be named, but because it's a doctor, there are doctor strikes. 3 for 3. We've got no moral high ground on this one because we've got them and all.
That's true. Leo Kearse, what do you think?
I think we do have the moral high ground because this is, it's much more endemic in India, certain parts of India, certainly. I think our police officers who do things like that, they're working alone. It's not part of a culture of going out and doing stuff like that.
Yeah, OK, fair point. We've made it to the end of part 2, but do join us again in part 3 when we're going to have comedy controversies and breakdance breakdowns. See you in a few minutes.
Hey, good evening. Here's your latest GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. Looking ahead to tomorrow, and there will be sunny spells for many of us and just a few showers in the north. But before then, we do have some wet weather around at the moment. We do have a frontal system that's still making its way southeastwards, and this is going to bring quite a bit of cloud, quite a bit of rain across much of England and Wales through the end of the evening, pushing away towards the southeast as we go through the early hours of Friday morning. Could be some heavy bursts amongst it before it eventually clears away towards the southeast through tomorrow itself. Behind it, some clearer skies, and under the clearer skies, temperatures may drop a little bit lower than they have done through some recent nights, some places getting into mid-single figures. So first thing tomorrow morning, it is going to be a bit of a damp start across some parts of the far southeast, particularly towards Kent. Here we could have some outbreaks of rain for a time before that front clears away. Across the southwest of England, it's brighter, also across much of Wales and the Midlands, some decent sunshine early on. And a similar story further north for northern England, Northern Ireland and into Scotland. There will be some decent sunny spells here, but for western Scotland, quite a few showers already developing, and these showers are going to continue as we go through the day tomorrow. They're always going to be most frequent across western, northwestern parts of Scotland, and here we will also have some blustery winds pushing their way in, and those blustery winds are going to add to the slightly cooler feel to things across northern parts of the UK. Further towards the south-southeast, once the cloud and the rain clears away, it should feel pretty warm with temperatures in the mid-20s Celsius. Looking ahead to Saturday, and again we're going to see some showers across northern and western parts. Not many showers, but a few coming through at times, and some brisk winds towards the far northwest. A greater chance of staying dry and avoiding the showers towards more eastern southeastern parts. Sunday looks like a relatively similar day with more showers across the north before some wet weather arrives for many of us by Monday. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. It's your first look at Friday's newspaper. We're going to start this section with the Telegraph comedian story. Who's got it?
It's me, saying police launch hate crime inquiry as Israelis hounded out of Edinburgh Fringe show. It's Reginald. We've covered this part of the story, but Reginald D. Hunter in a show does a joke saying being married to your abuser is like being married to Israel, causes upset, not from domestic abuse charity, so we'll wait for that to come around. But a couple from Israel in the audience said, not funny. So far, so normal stand-up gig with heckling. But the audience turned on... You
get that a lot, do you?
People,
not funny.
Not funny. It always happens. Surely, guys, that happens every show?
I've heard about it happening, I'll be fair.
OK. I'm turning up to all your shows from now on. But the audience then were turned on by... So the audience turned on this couple until they left. The guy of the couple was disabled, so it must have been one of those awkward, really long, like, excuse me, pardon me, it's at the row. Took ages, awkward. But remember, this is Scotland. They've got the new hate crime bill thing, which means you can be investigated for anything if someone thinks it was offensive.
So, but my understanding is now that the members of the audience were shouting abuse at the people leaving?
Yes, so this is the thing, right? What's the hate crime? Is it the joke? Well, you defend jokes for being jokes. They're not meant to be... Even if they're not funny, you can defend a joke. The audience turning on them, who's in charge of the audience? They're going to track down every member of the audience to have a hate crime against them?
Mob. It's a far-right mob.
The general mob, yeah.
Was it a far-right mob going to see a black comedian?
Well, if they're shouting abuse at Jews, then that makes them more far-right than the people who normally get called far-right, who tend to have a lot of Israel flags with them.
The phrase far-right confuses me these days, because it is used quite liberally, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean it's a kind of meaningless phrase now, but this is quite an issue because I mean when the hate crime bill came out, I stood for election against Humza Yousaf to sort of raise awareness and to have fun because there was nothing else to do because comedy was shut. But I said this is gonna harm comedy. This is gonna mean that we can't tell jokes on stage. And a lot of comedians said, "Oh, you're just a stupid bigot who just wants to say horrible things on stage." And I was like, "Yeah, I do, because look what happens." Now they're coming for Reginald D. Hunter, and I've worked with Reginald D. Hunter. I know he's a nice guy. He's not, he doesn't aim to whip up hate or anything like that. But under this ridiculous hate crime law, his jokes, when they're read out in the cold light of the courtroom, will sound like it could be problematic.
Is it going to go that far? So what have they said so far? It's an investigation, right?
So it's an inquiry by the police at the moment. Some of his jokes are so typical. He tried to look at a review of one of his shows on a Jewish newspaper's website, and it was behind a paywall. So he made a joke about how you had to pay and how that was typically Jewish.
But it's structured like a joke.
That's a joke.
It's clearly a joke,
and it's a funny joke. You know what I mean? And I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm the opposite. I'm like I'm a Zionist. But like for jokes to be policed in this way, like this is going to really hurt comedy.
It's not the first time. I mean, I read those jokes and I think if you compare that to some of the jokes other comedians say on stage. Jerry Sadowitz, straight into prison if we actually apply the hate crime law.
And that's what happens in places like Malaysia. Like my mate Rizal, his comedy club was shut down because the Islamic morality police took offence at something that happened on stage.
Shouldn't we just say there's basically a protective bubble on stage? Like that whole old myth about the clowns used to draw a circle around themselves so they were protected, they could say what they want to the king. That actually, whatever comedians say on stage, however ostensibly horrible it is, you just give them a free pass. I think that would actually be the way.
You've opted into it by going to see the show.
Right.
A comedy show, that it could say things that you think are not funny.
Yes, or indeed offensive. That sort of part of it.
Yeah.
But people, every time this sort of thing happens, people say, "Oh, it doesn't mean it won't get any further." Like, do you remember when the Count Dankula case, where some guy makes a joke video and he gets hauled through the courts, and everyone at the time said, "Well, police aren't going to get involved with professional comedians." And then they looked into Joe Brand, and they're like, "Yeah, but they're not sending professional comedians to prison." It's like once you can see the slippery slope. Emerging.
Comedians will be sitting in a gulag saying, "Oh no, this isn't so bad. No, this is
They've got a drama club. They've got a table tennis. Like, it's not that bad,
I don't know when people are going to wake up.
If we all get sent to the gulag, I'm not driving. That's the only thing. I'm not doing that anymore. You have to drive other comedians around.
Oh, that's the worst thing. Okay, well, we're going to move on now to The Guardian. And this is a ray gun-related massacre. Leo.
So the Australian breakdancer Rachel Gunn, a.k.a. Ray Gunn, said the backlash she has received since competing at the Paris Olympics has been devastating, and she's pleaded for privacy for her family and friends. She says, "I really appreciate the positivity, and I'm glad I was able to bring some joy into your lives. That's what I hoped. But I didn't realise it would also open the door to so much hate, which has, frankly, been pretty devastating. Should have done a better dance then, to be honest."
But wait a minute, she was trolling, right? The dance was a joke.
It kind of looks like a joke. She says it's sincere. There's a lot of creativity there. I thought it was a fun thing. And also the Olympics, the whole spirit of the Olympics is it's amateurs. Remember Eddie the Eagle throwing himself down the ski jump and everybody cheers because this is just some guy who works in Tesco's or whatever. Now he's throwing himself down the ski jump and he's not winning any medals, but it's fun. And
but I think this was a deliberate. It was like that scene in that Chris Liddy series, the Jemay High School Girl, where the girl does a stupid interpretative dance on stage at the end of school, the end of term concert. It looked like that. That makes me think it was a joke.
But that's just what breakdancing looks like.
Is it?
It's not, though, is it? I mean, I remember seeing it in films in the 80s, which is probably where it should have been left, but it didn't look like that. She looked like she'd been
have you not seen
tasered.
the Run DMC video? It's like that. That's
more
proper
spinning.
brain. There's a lot of spinning on heads.
Yeah, she didn't do any of that.
She's avant-garde.
Right.
She should spin on her head.
Bringing it to a new level.
I thought this was the best thing from the Olympics. I'm annoyed that she's getting all serious about it. It was the levity that we needed. We were having a rough time over here in the UK.
Yeah.
To see her rolling around like a dog in fox poo was amazing. But then the bit where she says, "I really like to ask the press to stop harassing my family, my friends, the Australian breaking community and the broader street dance community." And I thought, haven't the broader street dance community suffered enough?
Yeah. I'm always harassing the breakdance community.
Just breaks your heart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The broader street dance community. Oh, God.
Where do they hang out, the breakdance street?
The street.
Are they on the street?
The clues of the question.
But you need a bit of vinyl. because you can't spin in your head on the gravel.
Is that how the gangs fight? They actually go up to each other and sort of dance in the middle and then step back?
In a lot of 70s movies that I've seen.
They do, don't they?
Roll out the lino.
Well, that's a good way for conflict resolution.
Yeah.
I think it's better than, tanks and that.
That's right.
Right, we're going to move on to another racism in comedy story now. Leo, this is about your act.
No, it's not. It's about my friend, Raoul Colley, who wants to build bridges between right-wing rioters and the liberal left through his comedy, and it's actually working. He's converted an EDL audience member during his Edinburgh Fringe show.
Is that because the EDL disbanded 10 years ago?
I think this is. I don't think he's making this up. I think basically what happened was he had an EDL supporter in from Sunderland, and a woman who's flyering his show handed the EDL guy a poster. These flyers with posters apparently instead of flyers, and he pins the flyers on the wall. But handed him a poster, and the EDL guy said, "I like the title. The title of the show, which you should definitely see, is Raoul Colley, Raoul Britannia." And the flyer was like, "Where are you from?" And the guy replied, "I'm from Sunderland." And he said that he's in the EDL. And basically, the guy came to the show and loved it so much that he bought the flyer a pint. And he's basically had his opinions changed.
How do we know he's had his opinions changed?
Because Raoul says he did.
Okay.
But Raoul wouldn't make up stuff just to get
No, I'm not suggesting it's a publicity stunt, although we are talking about it on TV now. And he's still got some shows and some tickets to sell.
Yeah, and honestly, he's a great comedian. Go and see his show. And he's really inventive and fun. And honestly, if you are... Actually, you know what? I'm going to convert Raoul to being right-wing. That's what I'm going to do.
Just to level it off. The universe requires balance. Is this story, if you read it a different way, not just bloke fancies flyerer, goes to see show and then takes flyer out for a drink?
Well, that would be a more sinister way of looking at it.
That's what I'm here for.
That is what you're here for, the balance. The creepy balance. Right, we're going to move on now to this story about a Columbia University boss who encouraged anti-Semitism on campus has found her new home in the Labour Party.
A Columbia University boss quits over Gaza protest to work for David Lamy. So she stepped down immediately after sending a letter out about this. Remember, there was a lot of controversy over the pro-Palestinian protests, as they were called. There were sleep-ins, which at university is effectively what the halls are for already, so it was a mess. Jewish students didn't feel safe because of how the protests were handled, so she's leaving, clear of it. Get out of that place. You don't want anything like that where you could get caught up into this Middle East situation. She's going to go and work for, check notes, Foreign Office. All right. So in an email to the staff, she said that the unrest had led to a period of turmoil where it's been difficult to overcome the divergent views across our community. Yeah, you won't have to worry about that anymore then. Working once more for the Foreign Office. So this is going to be fun.
I mean, it sounds made up. What do you think there?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And it really shows, what David Lamy really thinks. And I hope, a lot of people who voted Labour are now, reappraising that and seeing what they've done. And this woman, it also reveals that there's a sort of elite class who just, ping between organisations, because she's previously worked at the Department for International Development, the International Monetary Fund, Deputy Governor of the Bank of England. And the universities. So clearly there's a sort of a strata of people who can just bounce between these organisations who suck up lots of taxpayers' money.
Yeah, they're called posh people.
Yeah, their CV doesn't have 6 months of working in a subway. There's never that bit.
There's a new posh. And it's this sort of managerial elite.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's it for part 3. Join us in the final section for capitalist drones, sneaky short kings, and we'll find out what the referee is. Don't go anywhere.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We got an incredible story this week of a young teenager who has raised more than £5,000 for charity.
13-year-old, just 13 years old, Cameron Hutchison cycled the West Highland Way with his dad, Colin, in just 25 hours, raising money for international food charity Mary's Meals. And the 96-mile route took Cameron and Colin to the foot of Ben Nevis.
Wow. Now, the organisation provides daily school meals to more than 2.4 million children in countries such as Syria, Haiti and Malawi.
We are delighted to be joined now by cyclist and fundraiser Cameron Hutchison. Cameron, it's so lovely to have you here. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well.
Well, we're very impressed to have you. We are honoured to have you. First of all, do you like cycling?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite sports. So yeah, I just wanted to do that.
What kind of bike did you do that enormous distance in? Did you have a special bike? Was it adapted?
Well, it was my cross-country bike that I just normally use for cross-country races. So, yeah.
Wow.
You can actually see it on the screen there with the blue handlebars. That's the bike I was using.
We can, and quite a route you went on as well. So, Cameron, you've been you're 13 years old. When did you start cycling?
I've sort of been cycling my whole life. So I got a little red balance bike when I was maybe 3 or 2, maybe. And then I kind of just got bigger bikes as I went on.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camila Tomy, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camila Tomy Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. It's your first look at Friday's newspapers. We're going to jump straight back in with the Daily Mail. And men have been lying about their height. Next, we'll find out Leo isn't actually 5'4".
So how tall do you think these men are? Women are using AI to catch men lying about being 6 feet tall on dating apps. And here's how you can try it. So women are screenshotting photos from dating app profiles, putting them into ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT, the AI thing, to provide an estimate of how tall they are. And apparently it can work it out from, if you're standing next to, a matchbox or a ruler, it can work it out. I think they also need to do this for how old people really are, because
yes.
I pretended I was 5 years younger than I.
Well, people put old photos on, don't
and
they?
people put old photos.
Yeah.
So then, if, AI can work out if the twin towers behind you in that picture are still there.
But the thing is, do women really care about height? I mean, is that a thing? Do you think?
Yeah, apparently so.
Really?
There was a story, I don't know if we covered it here like last year or something. If you're under 5'11", you just ain't getting swiped on that. These apps have just turned it into a numbers game, like a metric meat market, kind of just looking for reasons to disqualify people.
But do women like being towered over? Is that like an evolutionary thing?
Well, apparently they find them. They like the idea of tall men because they could protect you. I'm 6'2", and you're on your own. If a mugging's happening, this is why I practice running.
Well, also Jackie Chan must be below that.
Yes.
And he would be great if you were getting mugged. I'd rather be going out with Jackie Chan than some tall fella.
I think it's because women like to wear high heels. So in high heels, I had like 6 inches probably.
Yeah.
So they say women do have, like Steve says, women have got ridiculous demands these days. It's like the six has got to be 6 feet, have 6 figures and some other stuff that I can't
6 toes.
Really
narrows it down. Can you just say what it would be like if there was a story of men using ChatGPT to check cup size?
Yeah.
That it would be written very differently, wouldn't it?
Maybe that will happen next.
Good point. We'll try
Maybe
that.
it's a legitimate thing. OK, let's move on to the Times now. Steve, which side was that referee on? No, really?
Football. So the Premier League refused to declare who the refs support. Earlier in the day, there was a rumour that came out that this is how you'd solve the problem of biased refs and VAR, whatever that stands for, something about panty lines, I think. But what they were going to do is force the refs to say who they support.
Yes.
But now the rules would be that a ref can't actually referee a game if they support any of those teams, if they live in the area, or there's some other thing in there as well. But they don't have to say who they support. So, I mean, you could eventually whittle it down by which games they're not at.
Can't you just deny it? Like, can't you just say I don't support anyone?
If you want the extra work, yeah, but you know what these football people are like. They're, no, I'm Everton to the core till I die.
They do say things like that. What do they mean by that?
They do. It's because they're not allowed any patriotism or nation state anymore. So they've got to transfer all that passion and feeling onto a football team.
Right.
It's sort of like how women don't have children anymore, so they transfer that empathy onto a cat. Or onto ridiculous political ideas.
Well, a cat costs you less.
Yeah. Also, I just remembered something from the dating. Some advice for men who might be on dating apps.
Go on.
If you want to see if a woman's fat, look for fingers and collarbones, because they'll have sausage fingers, and the collarbone will be buried beneath a layer of fat.
So no need for AI with fat sleuth Leo Kearse on the case. We're going to move on to The Sun next. Leo, and people like their coffee like they like their women. Likely to kill you.
Apparently so. So how much coffee is too much coffee? Scientists discover how many cups a day can raise your risk of a heart attack or a stroke. So 4 cups of coffee per day is the safe limit, and any more caffeine could strain your heart. Specifically, 400 milligrams of caffeine each day raises your blood pressure and heart rate and forces your heart to work harder. But you also get caffeine in pre-workout for going to the gym. So
isn't this just a load of rubbish?
Well, I don't know.
Come on.
Is it healthy to have the pre-workout that has the caffeine and stimulates your heart? And then if so, is it healthy to take a lot of other stimulants before you go and lift weights?
I'm so sick of this, though. Every day there's another article saying, you mustn't drink this. Oh, no, actually, you should drink this. Or you mustn't eat this. Oh, no, actually, you must.
But
I can't be bothered.
Caffeine is a hell of a drug. Back in the days for university, in the labs, they had to have the full skull and crossbones on pure caffeine.
Yeah.
Not that we used it for many experiments, but if you just had a mouthful of that, you'd die. Your heart would stop. So, it's quite potent, but like 2 energy drinks, 4 cups of coffee, just get yourself a watch that tells you what your heart rate is, and then you can see your blood pressure and heart rate's great, and then just show it to Lewis Schaefer to make him feel better about it.
OK, well, we're going to move on to the Daily Star next with the death of the high street. What's all this about?
Death of high street edges closer as Amazon prepares to debut futuristic new device. It's a drone. It's not that futuristic. Divorced dads have been using these on weekends for ages now. But the Amazon drone rollout is part of this test. It's about having drones that you can't get line of sight to. So they're, these autonomous, basically like Terminator, but with wings.
That's comforting.
It'll be a new way of delivering things to your door if it goes well, or 17 people will be decapitated tomorrow. We'll find out on tomorrow's episode of Headlines.
It's not allowed, though, is it? Because if you have drones, you can look into people's back gardens and stuff.
Oh, no, this is Amazon we're talking about. They already listen to you on your various devices.
Oh, so they know what you're up to anyway.
You're having sex all the time.
They'll be able to sync the view from the drone through your bedroom window with the voice they're recording from the Alexa. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, but what they say is that, when you've got an Alexa in your bedroom, they can't hear you having an intimate moment because they don't record it. Isn't that the point?
It's constantly listening for any key phrases. So if it hears the word Alexa, it starts sending that audio back down to their data centre.
But what if you're going out with Alexa?
Well, you don't shout out a name during lovemaking.
What if you just do? That's your habit.
Yeah, and certainly don't discuss anything, anti-establishment or anything.
Yeah.
The way Keir Starmer is going. But what worries me about this is, so we're going to have autonomous drones flying around dropping parcels at people's front doors. How is the drone going to move the bins and put the parcel behind the bin? I just think this is just going to be worse.
True.
This is going to be the equivalent. The final part of this thing is going to be the drone dropping it into your bird bath or something like that. It's
like in every delivery man.
Yeah, you might as well just have somebody hoofing it over the garden fence.
No, that's true. I read an article about how drones are going to kill us all. And they were talking about how they're going to create little drones the size of, blue bottles, which will be able to fly through our bodies at such a speed that we won't have a chance. You won't be able to swat them away. What do you make of that, Steve?
I don't think they're doing that on Amazon Prime Air.
Well, maybe not now.
But
it's the slippery slope, is what I'm saying.
It is, but they'd have to they'd be delivering such small little items. Don't buy small things from Amazon.
That's what it is.
They're testing it in lightly populated suburban areas. They won't say where, but if you live in a lightly populated suburban area, wear a hat.
I think if you live in Donbass, you're going to get a warhead from Amazon pretty soon.
I just think drones and AI, it's the end of us. But,
I'm all for it.
Let's move on to this final story now. Leo, what's this about campaigning to hide the nipple?
So women reveal why men going shirtless gives them the ick. And even if you're a hunk like Harry Styles, it's still disrespectful. And that is why Steve and I have both worn shirts tonight. But from sunny parks to sweltering streets, the recent hot weather has seen a parade of flesh worthy of an episode of Love Island, as men with gym-honed bodies and dad bods alike take the opportunity to whip off their shirts. These were called riots. And, I don't know. I've noticed, like, there's this show called Love is Blind. I don't know if you watch it, but all the women are just like normal women. All the men have got like these sort of steroid bodies, like a sort of Action Man figure or a He-Man figure.
And they're all waxed, aren't they?
They're all waxed. They've got no hair. Where's the hair?
Or maybe they're keeping it to stuff a pillow or something.
They need, you know what? Burt Reynolds, he had a hairy chest. They need to bring that back.
Yeah, very sexy. What do you think, Steve?
It's not all about you. I love that this story is about it gives women the ick. I don't think they're taking their shirts off to impress you. They're taking their shirts off because they're hot and sweaty and they've probably just given in on life.
You don't think it's exhibitionism?
No.
Really?
No, I mean, I'm not in favour of it myself. Yeah, it's, you know, if you're a bit warm, you take your shirt off, you make people around you feel ill, but you've cooled down.
No, you should wear a vest, Ellie, like a Bruce Willis style thing.
Yes.
I think there is something disrespectful about it. There should be dress codes in society.
But the people in the survey said they should be arrested for it, prosecuted or fined for it. Calm down.
Yeah, that's a bit extreme, isn't it?
Don't give Keir Starmer ideas.
No, he'll be on that straight away. Anyway, that's all we've got time for, but let's have another quick look at Friday's front pages before we go. The Daily Telegraph is leading with GPs next in line for PM's cash handouts. The Daily Mail has got so much for an economic crisis. The Times, ministers favouring unions over pensioners. The Guardian has the two-tier system. Record A-level results highlight regional divide. Apparently people in the south doing a little bit better. The Express has got surely no need for tax hikes with our growing economy. That's a sarcastic headline there. And the Daily Star, man-hating ghost dolls terrifying rampage. A truly chilling story there. That's all we've got time for tonight. Thanks to my guests Leo and Steve. We're back tomorrow at 11 o'clock with Leo Kearse, Cressida Whitten and Bruce Devlin. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, please do stay tuned because now it's time for breakfast.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hey, good evening. Here's your latest GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. Looking ahead to